You may be a fan of Star Wars, or you may not. Regardless, you definitely know what it is, and if you're watching this video, then you probably are somewhat interested. Within the cool space opera storylines and lightsaber fights, the innovation of filmmaking that created the first films is something worth talking about. Before computers, before CGI, before digital cameras, how was George Lucas and his team able to create these amazing effects on the big screen? Nowadays, a powerful PC is needed to render out the visual components for a movie. In 1976, the maximum image a computer could render was something like these wireframe visuals. Every effect was done through manipulating film, creating physical mattes, and clever camera techniques. In this video, I will talk about 3 different techniques that they used to create these films and why they're genius. The first effect I want to talk about, and arguably the most popular one, are the lightsabers.
Elegant weapon.
One of the first ways they achieved this glowing effect was by having a stick that was covered in reflective tape, similar to what you see on construction worker jackets. By shining a light at the actor, the stick reflected the light back to the camera, creating a glowing effect. Another way they achieved this glow was cutting out parts of the film by hand and putting another light pass through it. You could see it in a scene like this where there is some wobble in the lightsaber, as that was an artist trying to guess exactly where it should be every frame. Another sequence with groundbreaking effects was the Death Star trench run. Physical models were made for each spaceship and filmed on a blue screen. But how did they get rid of the background in 1977? The filmmakers used a 5-step process to do this. Put a blue filter on the film, project that onto black and white film, put a red filter on that film, project that onto black and white film, combine the two, and you end up with what's called a female matte that could then be used over your camera to block light, essentially creating a transparent background. This allowed the filmmakers to expose 2 different parts of the film without them overlapping and creating a double exposure. It's a complicated process, which adds to the genius of George Lucas and his team. They had to know exactly what they wanted before they even started filming. All these matte and blue screen techniques weren't new, and as smart as they were to do these processes, they didn't invent them. What's really amazing about these effects is the moving camera. If you must expose for 2 different elements on your film, but you want your camera to move, how do you repeat the same camera move? Nowadays, you could use a motion control camera and input precise movements that the camera could then repeat, but that didn't exist at the time, so they invented it. John Dykstra created the DykstraFlex system to be used for Star Wars, and it allowed them to get pretty amazing dynamic shots with their process. It also allowed them to stack multiple individual elements, like having multiple ships in one frame. Each element was filmed individually and had to be exposed multiple times using that 5-step process, and for some of the scenes with multiple elements combined, there would be over 100 exposures just for that one shot. The last effect I want to talk about are matte paintings. The paintings acted like set extensions for some scenes, adding background elements and specific details like people. They were able to play with perspective and make it seem like the sets were bigger than they are. The drawings would be painted on glass so that they were able to film elements behind the parts that were left blank. This allowed them to line up the real elements to blend them seamlessly with the paintings. They had some of the best artists in the world creating these, and they're very cool to see. There's a bunch of effects in these first few films that are really cool to look at. ILM has some of the best visual works in movie history and are even impacting the industry today. With films like Avatar, Avengers Endgame, Pirates of the Caribbean, just to name a few, their work is the best of the best. If you learned something new in this video, please consider subscribing. A lot of the information in this video is from the DVD extras of Star Wars, along with videos on YouTube like from Corridor Crew. Thank you all for watching, and I will see you in the next one.